Hello, Requiny7 and welcome back to Combat Mission Battle for Normandy as we rejoin this Axis advance over a tributary of the River Veer. So we have once again the 902 Panzer Regiment and the 130th Panzer Regiment as we attempt to push this allied position as part of an overall counterattack. In the first episode, obviously, we kind of made an approach to the tributary, made the initial scouting. It's fair to say we kind of mismanaged our initial infantry contact. We got one of our squads quite badly shot up, and we've actually continued to take a few casualties here and there in that first platoon. However, we did reorientate ourselves, we got our kind of heavy weapons in position, and we've since started to see the Americans break from this side and also from the far side. We haven't seen much in the way of contact in the middle, but given what I've seen on each side, I suppose my expectation is there's something similar along the middle branch as well. Judging by, or guessing what we've kind of seen, I'm guessing this is an American platoon, 3 squads in HQ, probably similar on this right hand side, and given we've got some additional contacts, we might find there's actually a kind of second platoon, so there's maybe a kind of company's worth of infantry just along this initial point of contact. In addition, we have got some initial info on an AT position up on this hill. We saw briefly, it was a 57mm AT gun, fired a round at this Panzer IV, thankfully missed. So what's the plan? Well, twofold. Primarily, we are going to continue to use our heavier weaponry, our armoured vehicles, to engage the Americans in this position, probably fire blindly on the hedges where we haven't seen the Americans pull back, and spend probably kind of 5 to 10 minutes just establishing dominance over this position and driving them back before we attempt the crossing. I've got a lot of time on my hands and I was probably rushing the initial contact, which led to some of those losses. Similar situation on the left. Again, we're bringing up our platoon here who's going to be the crossing element, and I'm quite happy just to spend a few minutes continuing to chase these guys off, maybe directing some fire onto this hedgerow where we've not seen any contact, and generally just trying to prepare the conditions before making a crossing that deep forward. In the middle, we're still kind of in a scouting phase, so I'll probably try and advance with my scouts, just to see if I can get a better idea of what's over here. And finally, I want to get probably an HQ unit, probably this HQ unit, in position to potentially drop some artillery on this AT gun. We've got some mortars and some 105? 150? Hang on. 105 howitzer, 105mm howitzer, which we could potentially drop in. Now, if it's just a single gun position, it might be worth expending some mortar rounds, but maybe not a heavier barrage. But we'll see if we can get any scouting as to if there's other bits and pieces around it. Might be some infantry support, who knows. So that's going to be the play. So in terms of this video, my plan is I'm just going to probably put a cut in while I prepare the ground as it was before the next assault. If something interesting proc up or something spectacular happens, I will of course bring you guys back, but otherwise it might be 5 or so minutes on the clock just as we continue to prepare these conditions. The last thing I want to mention, so we did start with 4 of these Panzer IVs supporting our kind of middle and our right hand forces. I'm going to reposition these 2 into these woods to help support this push, and then eventually, although probably not now, I'm going to use some of these 6, which just turned up as reinforcements, to help support the middle push, albeit we know we can't actually get over the bridge here because there's an abandoned vehicle in the way. But I suspect I'm going to want some heavy firepower on this side of the river, kind of shooting across. So we'll split our forces like that. So yeah, so hopefully all going well, I'll come back in 5 or so minutes and we'll be in a position to push. Tell a lie. There's one final thing I want to talk about, and that was in our preparation for crossing, whether we want to use our smoke asset. So assuming we may use some mortars on this AT position, I would free up use of the 105 mils, and potentially we could use these smoke rounds. Probably, I was thinking something kind of linear-ish to do, I don't know, something like this, you know, a couple of 100 meters, just to try and isolate the crossing from any forces back along this road, and really buy time to get into this kind of initial hedgerow position and essentially get their heads down. Because even if the Americans do have positions, say along this road or slightly further back, if we can get in and get our heads down, to be honest, we're unlikely to be spotted unless we start moving around. So that might allow us to get a foothold. Only downside is, of course, once we put this in place, we set the timer on 15-ish minutes until we've got to make that crossing. So that's something, I think we're going to do that. But again, we've got so much time. I think I'm going to wait, let it run, say 5 minutes, see how things look, and then I'm probably going to make the decision whether I want to hit that smoke and commit to a timeline for pushing across this forward. Remember, this is infantry only, so although we may get a toehold here, they will be not unsupported, but the only heavy support they're going to have is from this side of the river. If we have the 75mm infantry gun kind of out in the fields or something. So yeah, so that's where we are. So definite plan, keep blasting away at the Americans, not force a crossing just yet. I'm going to do some thinking about this smoke. So I'll put a cut in and I'll see you guys back shortly. I was expecting, but there is a decision point. It's come up at this point, but I thought we could bring you back in on, and that is because our headquarter units here has got in alongside these scouts and is in position to call down a fire order against these two 57mm AT guns. Now, this is where I need to put my hands up a little bit and say I've actually had a crash whilst doing this. So this is the second time I've run these 3 minutes. So I actually know there's a third AT gun nestled in here. When I was doing the original playthrough, they took a pop shot at my recon car in the woods and they revealed there was 3 of them. And unfortunately, once you know something, you can't forget it, even if it doesn't pop its head up when you replay those couple of minutes. I've also now got into a frantic saving almost every minute because I don't want to lose progress, and I don't like knowing things I shouldn't know. But anyway, full disclosure. So, given that I know there's 2 guns nestled here, at least one there, possibly a second if they're mirroring the setup, this seems like a really, really high priority target. You know, take these out, I get much more freedom with my armour to support the push across the river. So I'm going to commit and I'm going to use my howitzers. Probably a little bit overkill, but there we go. That looks like a pretty good linear target. I am going to use 4 of them. Probably medium intensity, medium instant. It's going to use probably kind of about half my HE allotment, which is a lot. That's a significant investment, but absolutely worthwhile. On immediate, so it's going to take 14 minutes. So it's going to push us to at least just beyond the 2 hour mark, but it's loads of time, absolutely loads of time. So there might be a bit where I just sit for 10 minutes and don't advance, waiting for these to drop in. Meanwhile, other things to note. So we got our first indication of Americans in along this hedgerow, as expected. What is slightly unexpected is there is, if I've got anyone nestled in, here we go. There's sight lines through some of these trees, which I was expecting to kind of completely block it. So I do need to be careful, as some of these American units in here do have sight lines through to the area behind, so it's not completely invulnerable. Also means I might have to bring some units in to pepper that hedgerow. On this right hand side, we knew there was an Americans in here because we had seen the foxhole. This transpired to be a HMG M1917, which did inflict a few casualties when it reared its head, but we now have our armoured car, which suppressed it last turn and hopefully will knock it outright this turn. And I've also repurposed my 4th half-track, which was carrying the 2 HMG squads, to pick up just a Panzer Shrek team. I have given him the open up command, so he'll man that machine gun, and we'll just use that as a machine gun emplacement to support this advance across the river. I haven't ordered any smoke mission yet. Now, obviously, the 105s are busy, but we could use the 81mm smoke, and they're on a shorter cooldown. And I think the real concern for this forward crossing might be the American units here. So either I've got to put a lot of firepower on them, or I drop a little bit of smoke. And except I'm not expecting there to be huge American presence tucked along this road. Also the fact I've got scouts at the end of it, so I should be able to see them if they're there. So I think that's the biggest risk. And anything significantly further back is less of a threat. But that's where we are. But that, I think, is a key decision in a world push. I have also been starting to fill up the forest with panzers. These guys are slowly making their way to the front. Again, be careful not to expose myself too much. And just whenever they get here, whatever bit of the hedgerow they can see, just start hitting it. Mainly using just a machine gun unless we've got positive identification. Or even if the tank doesn't, if someone else is definitely spotted. But tell you what, why don't we hang around for this minute so you can generally see what I'm up to as I overspin my camera. And I shall bring this guy into position as well, because I wanted to try and strafe through these trees. Get you over here and see if that works. Okay, so let's hit the big red button. You'll see the general carnage. We have seen a few units pull back. We have seen some definite American casualties, although we tend to lose sight of the bodies. And our scouts have just taken a typical scouting injury. It's unusual. I'm not used to having so many anti-tank teams, but I'm happy to use a 2-man anti-tank team as a scout. Probably a bit wasteful. I probably should have broken off just a couple of rifle troops. They happen to be there, but that's some good information we shall go check out shortly. Now, what are you? Are you? So as was pointed out, this is apparently a bit of a bug where they kind of end up on the wrong side of the cache, and we now have two guys right in at the fort. But as you can see, we're just firing large volumes of lead, smarted Americans, at this American, everywhere we think it might be. Just try and get them to break, to run. And what I'm trying to do, and historically bad at, is just take my time. Not worry about it. Just fill this hedgerow full of lead. I mean, especially when you're using just the small arms, actually, you've burned through your 20mm HE. Interesting. But yeah, if you just use your machine gun, your armoured vehicles have so much of it. Alright. Who did you spot and how much did it hurt? Oh, hello. Okay, so they've got proper trenches in here. Now, thankfully, it was just the riflemen, so the Panzer guy's still good. And that's a nice little bit of information to have. There's probably a couple of these in amongst it there. But if we can take care of his 80 guns, that stops being a problem. Right, let's go see what this kind of side of things look like. This little corner has been incredibly resilient. We have been putting a lot of lead, and it just keeps popping off rifle grenades. Oh! Luck only lasts for so long, I suppose. But there's a lot of just kind of having to assume you're inflicting casualties because you do lose sight of them. I do want to quickly check whether we got any sight nor sound. Oh, I look like a little... No. Of this HMG team, because what I don't want is to stop firing at them on the assumption they're dead for them to then rear their heads again. But okay, but that's generally how we're progressing at the minute. I do take the odd infantry casualty here and there, but it's not too bad, and we're just trying to apply heavy firepower, or at least machine gun firepower, on all the positions, and as you can see here, suspected positions. Just got him deployed. Let's start filling this hedgerow with lead as well. And that's where we're at. So, plan then is I'll continue to strengthen this position, drive the Americans back from this hedgerow. When I'm comfortable and feel like it's safe, I'm going to bring one of the companies down in along this hedgerow as a kind of preparation for going over. And at that point, we might say, right, let's drop some smokes. But that's probably going to take, I don't know, the next 5 to 7 minutes. And then we're over here, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing with this while waiting for the fire mission to come in. So if nothing particularly interesting or unusual happens, I should come back probably in about 7 minutes, and we'll see what the state of play is then. Okay, bringing it back now because we're about to do something interesting. So it's been maybe 5 minutes since I last saw you guys. Actually, I think it's only been 3 minutes. And I felt that now was the time enough. We'd been inflicting enough damage with our armoured assets that we could actually try and move our infantry up and hold a position along this hedgerow. Because part of the issue I was finding was that we were losing sight of the Americans. We didn't really know where they were. Also, when you were along the hedgerow somewhere. And so I was unsure as to how effective my just filling hedgerows full of lead has been. I obviously saw occasional units break, but by and large I wasn't sure. So this actually just started at the tail end of the last minute, and as you can see, it went a little bit awry. I got my timing slightly wrong, and this part of the line kind of led the way, which it shouldn't have done, because this is the least, or this part of the American line I've had least impact on. But thankfully there's I think it's 2 casualties I took, but really just kind of suppression. So I'm hopeful they're not going to about take a rake of casualties. I did get a foothold just down here, and we are pushing up the rest of the infantry. At the same time, I've kind of unleashed the panzers, and they're got orders to use their heavy ordnance to try and increase suppression all along this line as they push to obtain a foothold. So let's see how this goes. Looks like another casualty there, just a rifle pixel trooping. And again, I get the feeling I probably should have waited even longer. But I did feel like we were starting to get the advantage, and I wanted to push it. Okay, another couple of units in position. Starting to get better spots in exactly where the Americans are. Okay, these guys are up and moving again. We'll see where they end up. Oh, looks like we've driven someone else off the line there. That's excellent. Okay, good. You can see the Panzer IV getting involved. Oh, rifle grenade out. Okay, I'm really happy with it. These guys aren't safe yet. But it doesn't look like there was a huge amount of firepower coming out the way of the Americans. Okay, there's one guy there. There's a guy. Oh, is he not there anymore? Oh, he's dead. Alright. This dude under the water, he was alive for a long time. And my picture here kept like aiming and then changing his mind. I think it just wasn't quite sure how to deal with it. But anyway, he's left this realm. Again, there's a couple of guys on the wrong side of the hedge here. More full them, including, I think there was one guy. Oh, he's not here. Someone down here with a BAR, which had caused me problems with those suppressed units. Looks like we've driven these guys off. Excellent. That's good. Quick scoot on the other side again. Kind of as we were, just moving these infantry units down and around to try and take positions along this hedgerow. And I must admit, these Americans have been amazingly resilient. Like, I have thrown a stupendous quantity of lead at this position, and these two chaps just keep sticking it and plugging away. And in fact, they've been healed, but they've taken out a couple of pixel trooping just with their M1 Garands. It's impressive for all the wrong reasons. But it's okay, we're slowly just building up there. There's no, I don't feel any kind of time pressure or anything, so I'm kind of happy with that. Although, what is that? I've just spied. Oh, hello. Okay, well that's an American spotting round. So I think it's time potentially to vacate top of this hill. I don't want to get that company devastated by artillery. Okay, so there we go. We're now at 2:07 on the clock. I'm going the wrong way. I feel like we're about to seize control of this crossing. I have been spending a large number of machine gun rounds just at this position because I suspect these guys probably have a heavy machine gun, and given the setup over there, it wouldn't surprise me if it was back here just kind of covering but we shall see. So the plan is just going to keep, well, I'll get position along here, hold them. Any units we spot, just going to hit with heavy infantry, or heavy infantry armor, just to push them off. And again, we'll come back if we decide we're about to do anything exciting or interesting. So I literally just said I was going to be like 7 minutes before I came back, but I just want to come with this, I don't know, 30-40 seconds of action. So I just want to demonstrate the additional power of getting that infantry line in place alongside the supporting heavy elements from the kind of armoured vehicles. And you can see the American resistance along this kind of point of contact, it just starts melting. You know, we just see Americans abandoning their positions, and there's even a couple of guys in the middle here. You can see quite quickly have enough, and they just surrender outright. Other than me unsurrender before I get to them. But look, people just pulling back, casualties. Just that ability to bring an additional volume of firepower in addition to the heavy escort. So really the key here was getting the initial heavy firepower to do enough, I'd say enough damage, probably a little damage and enough suppression. I think the suppression was key to cover my infantry getting out from the woods to this front line, and then combined firepower just to completely overcome and defend us there. Anyway, I just wanted to come back and highlight that. Again, I'll come back whenever we're ready to cross the river, or we start seeing those 105 shells falling. Okay, so we are much further on, approaching the 2-hour mark, and we did have those spotting grounds earlier. So as discussed, I started pulling my troops off the hilltop. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite quick enough. Maybe should have ran these guys just and given them walk, and I do pick up a few casualties. Well, I've only seen this far, so I'm hoping it's not more. Annoying, but not the end of the world. I'm also, you see, moving my mortar carriers up. I'm thankful the barrage is like further over, because for some reason you can't call in the smoke mission, even though they have smoke rounds, so I'll have to do that under direct fire. And unfortunately these guys are now suppressed their sink rate, which is, that's a lot of dudes to be trapped down. It's fine as long as they don't succumb. Oh, they're off again. Good. Get out of there. But we managed to see it coming and avoid the most of it. At least so far, anyway. Okay, the other thing I want to mention, just since I was here, was this contact, or a couple of contacts we've had over here, which shows that we're not the only ones getting reinforcement. So it looks like some American armor has turned up. So that's started to feel like I'm under a little bit of pressure to get across the river. You know, it's going to be a much harder push if they've got tanks sitting here. So I'm building up both here, and I'm about to send some scouts across here just to make sure I can get some footholds. So we'll come back for that. And it looks like our first spotting rounds, miles off target, but have started to fall. This side's gone pretty quiet. I've not seen any Americans for a fair few minutes. We do seem to push them off. And we should be in a position, not quite. We'll get across, maybe not the next minute, but the minute after. And likewise over here, we're just getting ourselves ready to try and push over with our first scout team. Well, this one's a little more contested, and I'm going to have to definitely put some suppressing fire onto these positions to get across. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. So I'll maybe cut away, run a minute, and then pull you guys back in so you can see how the attempted crossings go firsthand. Okay, so this is us. We're going to try and make the first crossings with our scouts here. I'm not convinced it's necessarily going particularly well, especially down here. I'm worried there's too many perfectly healthy Americans over here. Although we are going to draw in on these squads to add some suppressing fire, as well as the half-track over here, but even then might not go so well. So let's, seeing this is fairly momentous, let's ignore the other side of the map. I'm also worried about where these tanks are going to end up. I don't have a lot of AT capability down here. we've got quite a reasonable number of units with no direct target orders, just to try and pin down units as they reveal themselves. But I need to get a reasonable foothold over here with some AT capability. So then we can, you know, if they do send tanks, hopefully use a bocage to set up a few ambushes. You can probably hear the American artillery continues to absolutely annihilate the hill behind us. We got out with any further casualties beyond the ones you've already seen. And so far, so good. This casual stroll across the river is going surprisingly well. Looks like our artillery is getting close to the target. Okay, that was quite a slow minute actually. I thought they were going to get away across. You may have to endure 2 minutes of this. The other thing was indeed over here. We are preparing to get across as well. This one I actually expect to go better, because we've seen a lot more Americans driven off these positions. There's not the same supporting element from the guys down in the trenches back here. Oh, but that hurts. Is that yet another AT gun? Okay, we'll go back and check that. Well, we know it is, but I just want to see how this guy gets along. Because if this goes well, the next turn I want to try and surge across with the 1st Infantry Company. Now, I'm conscious there's probably a couple of elements left up here. So far so good. But again, it takes so long to walk anywhere. Right, this is the first tank lost. This hurts. So I had been repositioning them from over this side to go and shore up the centre, with the idea that perhaps once the howitzers start falling, use the cover to push 1 or maybe 2 panzers all the way to this left flank. Just if they turn up here with the majority of their armour, I wanted something to counter it. Unfortunately, that does not seem to be an option we're going to get. Just slows down on this kind of harder ground. And that's it. 1 hit. I mean, that's a fair distance for the 57mm. And where did it hit? Front turret as well. That's a good shot. You'll not often see those knock a tank all the way out. But yeah, that's a lot of AT positions. Okay, let's jump. I just want to check in command phase. How far are... Not quite far enough. Can I adjust it? Let's adjust it. It'll take a little bit more time, but it'll be much, much more worthwhile. Yeah, do that, please. Okay, it takes 4 minutes, but that's not a problem. Alright, well, let's just stay. We're going to stay alive. This is a momentous occasion as we push across the river. I don't want to see flashes from that side to spoil it. So we'll spin around this way. We'll see if we can get some German boots on the north side of a tributary. Surprisingly quiet. If any fire comes from, expect it to be over here. This has had the least suppressive fire, just due to kind of sight lines and things. But once these guys are in position, we do have an MG42 amongst them. It looks like they're going to get there okay. End up being a very uneventful minute. Alright. Well, that was pretty quiet. What carnage and mayhem happens over here? Well, they're coming. They're coming. Are we still hitting this hill? Yeah. Oof. Fair enough. Okay, boys are in the water. Now I've got them just to swing hard down here when they get across. So I just want to check the kind of immediate landing. If that goes okay, I'm going to smoke these guys up next turn, and then probably turn over, pushed over with infantry. This definitely could go badly wrong if it gets messed up. There's a lot of open ground here. Oh. I'm going to check those artillery shells as well. That didn't look like the greatest barrage. That's a seriously deep ford. You right, guys? Nice. It's just the way the tiles work, which ones are flagged as walkable. Good choice. Okay. Let's see, how did we... I mean, we are adjusting, so we should change what they're doing, but let's have a look at where that pattern went. If any got in and around here. Not really. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest opening. That's fine. Probably just getting the orders to adjust. So I'm going to have to decide what to do with this Panzer for a minute. He's just kind of spying down the road, maybe take pot shots of things that turn up, but I really did want one out to help his left-hand side. So potentially I might end up redirecting this guy, but he's not in the greatest position. Again, maybe I wait for the barrage to begin a bit more in earnest, kicking up smoke, dust, all that good stuff, and then we try and pull him out. I think that is what we'll do. Okay, but I think we're over here, definitely. No problem. Let's start pushing larger numbers across. And let's try and secure this crossing. We are going to have a few issues too. Let's split these guys in half just to... just in case we run into some trouble. Let's... I'll give you a slight pause, and we're just going to start ferrying people over in gaps. I mean, I'm tempted to rush a large numbers across because we seem to have it open, but at the same time, I don't trust it. All it takes is one US with a BAR to suddenly remember he's in a war in a good position and mow down a large number of pixel tripping. And over here, I think this is going to have to be the play. We need to get it done, so we're going to... it's the wrong carrier. Yeah, that's the guys I want. I'm going to try and smoke up this kind of area. You drop, say, here, and actually, where can you see? Yeah, you can see kind of there. What are the wind conditions? Clear, warm, dry, gentle from the west. The west being that way? Yeah. So it's going to blow slightly in this direction. That's okay, actually. So maybe we adjust this. Maybe we actually drop it right on that guy's head. Take them out, and we'll try and push. I mean, because that's a lot of open ground. This is going to be uncomfortable. We're just going to try and smoke up this area. Just prevent any additional support from here, and we're going to try and push guys up and potentially hold this bit, and then build a fire support from there. Oof. Sounds dodgy, but that's the way it's going to be. But it's going to have to wait till next time before we see how that transpires. So we're getting through it. Not quite as quickly as I thought we were going to be honest, but quicker than I usually do. As ever, do leave your thoughts, comments, etc. down below. Let me know how you think we're getting on, if you do anything different. And as always, I do hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheerio.